I think I'm in a pretty good place. Let's start rendering this. Let's do some work on the trees. All right, so got a little branch right here. I should really try. I should draw trees more. I like trees. Trees are pretty cool as far as shape and drawing goes, and lighting and colors. I remember growing up, my dad should show me this drawing my godfather did of a tree in this wintry scene with a deer in the background. I always thought that was the coolest thing, and I tried to recreate it myself as a 12-year-old. Came out pretty decent for a 12-year-old, but I haven't really taken time to draw and render out trees since I was younger. So this is going to be a cool exercise, I think, in that. So let's see what this tree wants to look like. So I got this. You got this kind of flow going right here. So maybe this comes up like that. Maybe that's where the tree branch wants to be. And this little tree branch. So I'll switch them. This one's originally kind of shorter, and this one's kind of longer. So I'll switch to this one being kind of longer. Maybe I'll do a little bump like that. And this one's kind of shorter. Maybe another little tree branch right here, just so that it's not all. I'm gonna create this kind of balance. Here's a little thing, some more leaves, a little baby branch right here. That goes into this one. Yeah, I think trees are so cool. I have this, I don't know where I may have heard it from, but I use it a lot in my thought processes. Not relating to art, so this is not art focused, but the question is, do trees have a consciousness? Do plants have a consciousness? And obviously the answer would be no. That's the way that we perceive it. Dogs have a consciousness. They make decisions on a day-to-day basis. Very simple ones at that. And, different level of consciousness, I guess, right, than us. Different type, I guess, maybe is a better word. But then you look at like time-lapse videos of trees and the way they move and they grow and they reach and they spread. It looks like, over time lapse, it looks like a dance that they're doing and a process that they're going through. So, which begs the question, the way that they grow towards nutrients, they move towards light. There's an input, and then the output is what they do to survive, which is really what our consciousness is as a human being, right? So why isn't that considered a type of consciousness? They're interconnected with this huge network of plants once you look at it. And why is that different than our internet? I mean, why isn't that, it is different, obviously, but why wouldn't we consider that a level of consciousness? So Do they perceive time? I don't know. Do they perceive space? They grow in 3D space. Maybe they can't perceive it in the way that we do. We perceive space through vision. We see objects through the way that light is refracted off of things, solid objects in space, but we can't see electromagnetic waves. We can't see radio waves. We can't see a whole lot of type of shit. So we can't determine where nutrients is in the ground. That's a whole nother sense to me. So in that sense, do they have a consciousness? Is it just slightly different than ours? We're treating it like an object rather than a being? Because for some reason we equate our consciousness to be the greatest of all. But really, maybe it's the least great. Maybe it's the most average. So yeah, that's my little rant about trees and consciousness. And I was having, I wasn't having a conversation, but I had entered into some comments on Facebook regarding time travel, and it's like, this guy was saying how impossible time travel is based on science. And it's kind of ridiculous. Like, I was being ridiculous on purpose, but because I was doing that because of how serious he was being. And I thought it was funny to be ridiculous while he was being so serious. And I stopped the conversation where it was because he pretty much... I don't really feel like talking to people on Facebook comics, but... time is really... the way we understand it and the way I understand our knowledge of time as a human species is that we can only perceive it through our five senses. Time is if what you saw didn't change, you would never perceive time the way that we do. So sight. But there's so many things we don't know about science because we can't observe them through our senses, I think. He was talking about the speed of light and shit and how we can't reach that speed, and that's the only way that we would be able to travel through backwards in time. But that's only based on our knowledge of it at this specific state, There was a time when man thought there was only one way to start a fire. And now we have fucking thermodynamics. And there's a whole science behind fire. But there was a stage where fire was fire, and we started it one way and it did this one thing. Now we know through entropy, thermodynamics, that heat, energy, and the way that it interacts with mass and matter is how we've created internal combustion engines, air conditioners, etc. But try explaining that to a caveman. And I think that's where we're at as far as time goes. Like, time as a concept, I think we're cavemen in the way that we understand it. I think personally, even the most this guy was a smart guy that I'm referring to on this Facebook page. But he's not he wasn't any kind of quantum physicist or anything like that. But you talk about them, I think even they have a limited understanding of it. We don't really know that much about gravity. That's the only way that we understand the effects of time. The farther away from a gravity source, or the less gravity force, the faster time moves, or slower. One of those two. Well, that's the only way we understand it. So but we don't have the capacity to understand how to control or create gravity, besides just creating a huge mass, which you can't do. And then there's a whole quantum realm. We don't know that much about the forces that keep that work in quantum mechanics. It's a whole different, like the rules of regular physics go the fuck out the door when you get to quantum mechanics. So why would we assume that the only way to go backwards in time or forward in time is to go faster or to go further away from what we understand to be a gravitational force? Anyway, that's my little rant about science that I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. So, la-di-da. Let's see what should I do in the background here. Do sun. Well, this specific project, he wants like a circle in the background. That's going to be kind of a common image, so that maybe that'll be the sun set. But should I cut it off, or should I bring this down here? Maybe I should bring this. So these are the things I think about when I'm drawing. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, I don't know. So let's go ahead and start making these things permanent. And I will use I think I'll go ahead and use no, I'll go ahead and use one of my favorite brushes. That's this one. This is called, what is this called?